got almost 26 years of leadership experience in sales and marketing, and is presently the course director at IATAS. And with the renowned experience, Sir is going to explain to us the employability opportunities, the employable opportunities that we'll have in the aviation and the logistics sector. And also this would be very useful for the students and the trainers who are looking forward for new opportunities. And I would also like to thank everybody who will be attending this session. Even though we have come up with a new platform, we have the same number of attendees, and also the numbers have started increasing over the span of time. Thank you everybody for coming in the new platform. And Sir, I would now request you to take the session, take over this and continue with the session and enlighten everyone with your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for taking your time for this session, and I would like to humbly thank USAP for providing me this opportunity to share my experience and what I believe is the scope for more in the aviation logistics industry, as well as for you as professionals, as students, as teachers. So what I have gathered today, I will just share it in my share my content now. Please let me know if you can see this. Is it clear? Ruby, can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay, right, thank you. So I would need around 40 to 45 minutes, followed by question and answer session. So basically the session is going to be on scope for hope in the aviation logistics and you. What I'm trying to convey today is to tell you that in spite of all these negative trends and talk that we see today because of the coronavirus, I just want to tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. How long the tunnel is not what I'm going to comment on today, but definitely what I would like to tell you is there are a lot of opportunities still available in aviation as well as in the logistics sector, but it is not denied, it is only delayed for the moment. So with those words, I would start off with the presentation. My session would basically be on give you an indication on the aviation and logistics content. So I would start with the introduction, which has already been done, and the objective I've already discussed. I would go with the choices that you have before you, a brief overview about the aviation and logistics industry in India, the current situation, what are the trends that is expected, what is the new leadership agenda that I believe is going to come across, what are the job opportunities that will be there, what are the fundamental changes that you as individuals and organizations that need to adhere to as part of the paradigm shift, what are the graduate attributes that a candidate should necessarily possess, and what are the skills required, and what are the Canopy values. Now these sessions which I'm covering towards the later end of the presentation is basically for the trainers as well as for the students and for professionals who are looking at enhancing their career. And this has come with my experience in the last 27 years in the airline industry, interviewing people, working with people, managing change, managing crisis. I have come to some conclusion that these are the qualities and the values that need to be inspired by the graduates. So if you have to take notes, please do, because there are certain slides which are quite long, which are self-exercises, self-improvement plans which you do if you are interested in. But since there is a paucity of time, I would suggest I might skip a few of those. However, the presentation is available for you in the website of ASAP, so you can always come back to me with those questions. Always ready to help. I have quit my job to actually pursue my passion for training and to give back to society what I have, the experience that I have gained over the past 26-27 years. So I'm available for any question sessions even after this that you can. My number and my ID could be obtained through ASAP if required. So I start off the session. The current choices today is something that I got it done for during the COVID period. The sphere zone, learning zone, and the growth zone was always there. But this is more relevant to COVID because I'm sure that you will be able to relate to what is written in another slide with what you are currently undergoing. So that is the reason why I have used this slide. Now, most of us are in the fear zone or in the learning zone. We do not move to the growth zone. And the growth zone is something that you need to make an honest effort from your own individual self to push to that side, because what stops you from going to the growth zone is one is your complacency, second is your fear of failure, and your lack of confidence and self-esteem, which in most cases is what prevents you from moving out of the learning zone. We are all very good till the learning zone, but after that we need to move on. For a small example that I can give you that I have today moved into the growth zone is that I am making my talents available for those who need them, as you can see here. I think of the others and see how to help them. So this is my effort to see how I can move out of the growth zone. Similarly, you need to also make that effort to move into the growth zone, because this is what is going to help you in your employability, and also these are the qualities that corporates are looking for. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know about Maslow's basic human needs. Now, these basic human needs was designed by a gentleman called Maslow, and there were the ones that you see in the green and the white are the ones that he has made, which he believed are the basic human rights: physiological needs, air, food, water, shelter; safety and security needs; social needs, which is family and friends; esteem needs, what you need is self-esteem, confidence, and achievement; and self-actualization needs, creativity, problem solving, spontaneity, and authenticity. Now, we have a new human needs, because when Maslow made this, the mobile and the Wi-Fi was not very relevant. But today, as you can see in the COVID scenario, Wi-Fi and battery are also become a basic human need. And that's the reason why I have made this Maslow's basic human needs 2.0, because this is the new version. As you can see, this has evolved. So there is going to be continuous evolution of a lot of things in life that you are going to experience over the next couple of years or many years in your professional career. But this adaptation to the change can only be achieved if you have self-actualization needs and esteem needs. This unfortunately is not being addressed to at the school level, university level, nor in any skilling levels. So it is important for all of us to actually get into the self-actualization. As we go through the presentation, you would also see that I have highlighted during some of the points in green, which means that will also show you that how important self-actualization and esteem needs are throughout your career. Now I will go through a brief explanation on what the aviation industry is currently going was in the pre-COVID period. That was before the virus lockdown period. Everything was very honky-dory. There was robust demand. There was complete opportunity in maintenance, repair, and operation. There was policy support that was coming in from both the government as well as from foreign direct investment. There was increasing investment as well that was coming. This is as per the CRISIL report, which was in 2014, 15, and 16. And this was, they said that this would how it would look at from 2018 to 2023. This picture does not hold good anymore because of the current situation. However, it does not mean it is going to it can be erased. It would be the entire predictions and forecasts would be maybe reduced by 50% or maybe 50%, but nothing more than that. So there is going to be a positive impact also in terms of jobs, etc. in the future. But however, this prediction for India as a robust aviation industry still holds good, in my view, the next coming 2 years. Of course, the billions is what I've mentioned there. The 13-14% of total revenues would maybe come down to 6 or 7, but still it shows a positive picture in the next couple of years. Now let us look at the what IATA has to say in the aviation industry. There is a loss of 252 billion in revenue, which is 44% of the 2019 revenue. What they are saying is that there is, out of the total 700 airlines in IATA, 670 of them are going to go bust, or they might have to close down because of the current, provided they are not given financial support by the government through loans or through tax waivers, etc., etc. So, situation is very bleak for the airline industry, but it is a fact that there would be a huge structural change that can be predicted, because due to this there is going to be economic depression, there is recession, but there is also going to be a rebound. Now during the rebound, which are the airlines that are going to make it out of the financial situation or the crisis is something that we need to look at. But again, like I'm saying, it's not through me, because there are going to be certain airlines that could be consolidation. Maybe the weaker ones would move off, but the stronger ones would consolidate. There could be new mergers and acquisitions. New trends that have come, which is what I would call as the new normal. The new normal is a dramatic rise in remote working. There is going to be a more locally oriented supply chain and a focus on sustainability. This is definitely going to happen because people now will realize that things have changed. They need to look at different ways of working. The health concerns is definitely going to be an issue for people to travel, but we still see but it can be divided into two steps. What we are saying is the duration of the impact. There is going to be domestic travel initially in the short haul, and there is going to be international travel in the long haul. The short haul leisure travel and the long haul leisure travel might continue in the domestic sector, but the long haul business travel will continue. But all the short haul and the long haul leisure travel will be delayed over a period of time because of this particular crisis that we are going through. But again, like I said, it's only in the midterm and the short and midterm that we are looking at this crisis. Otherwise, it's going to get back to normal for sure. Now, let us look at the logistic industry in India. This is both the pre and the post-COVID scenario. The pre-COVID scenario was very honky-dory. As you can see, there is a huge potential that was there for India. This is again provided by CRISIL based on survey. So before the coronavirus hit us. Now, what I would like to tell you is that unlike the aviation industry, the logistics industry is not going to be impacted as much as the aviation industry because it is movement of goods and not people. So obviously, with that dynamics, and logistics is required by the countries for movement of people for their required survival. So logistics, trust me, will not be impacted as much as aviation is. You would see more passenger planes being used for cargo transportation, as in the case already for transportation of essential medical supplies, etc. That is already being conducted. But going forward, there is definitely going to be a better future for logistics than in aviation. What I'm trying to say is the turnaround time for recovery for logistics will be much more shorter than that for aviation. So there is still a lot of hope for you guys. What is the new normal? The new normal will be that is in a post-COVID situation. The new normal will be that there would be a reorganization of a lot of companies. There is going to be digitalization. There is going to be infrastructure development. The demand for logistics will increase substantially immediately after the lockdown is lifted, for the simple reason that there are a lot of goods that are waiting at ports and airports to be transported to their destination, which is not being done so due to the lockdown situation. However, there are once the lockdown is lifted, a lot of essential and non-essential items would move, and most of it would be moved by the airline sector. That is why I mentioned in the aviation sector in the short term, because people would require it immediately, and hence the movement through ships would take some more time. What are required about 30-40 days would come by the ship, but what are required immediately, which has already been pending for the last one and a half months, would now be transferred on the airline. So which means in the short term, there is going to be a boom of airline cargo as well. So again, in the airline sector for logistics, there is going to be this. India has definitely got the opportunity to fill up the void created in world supplies. This has come out because of the overdependence. People have realized the overdependence of logistics and supply chain management in China. So there is going to be focus on pharmaceuticals and automobiles in the short term. Definitely, there is going to be a shift of companies maybe moving from China to India. All this, of course, depends upon how understanding and liberal and far-sighted the government is in terms of understanding this and taking the initiative towards this process. There is demand for value-added logistics services expected due to the current inefficient and fragmented approach. Now, why is it become inefficient and fragmented? Thanks to the coronavirus, now we know where our weak links are. So corrective action needs to be taken. So definitely for value-added logistics, there is going to be a scope. Automation.
Sir, excuse me, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, No problem.
But sir, there are certain concerns raised by everybody that the audio is not, I mean, they're not able to hear it. So can you be a bit nearer to the microphone?
Yeah, the audio now, is it clear?
Yeah, now it's clear. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, this is. I wish it had been told earlier. Anyway, thank you. So, if there is anything that you missed out, please do ask me in the question and answer session. I would be more than willing to re-explain it. So, automation and training to monitor stockpiling, storage, and safety will enhance customer experience and decrease cost. So, there is definitely going to be digitization and automation that is going to happen. They would require more skilled manpower for monitoring the stockpiling and storage. So, for training in automation, they would require more people. So, there is again, I believe, there is scope for us. The focus of the government will be, I presume, I'm being very optimistic here, will be to boost the policy and regulations, considering that we know what are the deficiencies that we have here and to reduce the over dependence on other countries like China. There is also going to be a shift from being a service provider to an end-to-end solutions provider for multiple sectors of the industrial realm. So what I mean by end-to-end solution provider is that the service provider will take care of inventory management, storage, distribution, and will eliminate the many layers and steps which will optimize the distribution and minimize disruptions. So this is going to be one of the new normal that we are going to see on the post-COVID sector. The move to a variable cost model is also something that I see that is going to happen, because most of the companies today would opt for a third-party logistics supply chain management company, and that again, India happens to be having the largest number of service and unskilled manpower to cater to this kind of a model. Now, the new leadership agenda. This data I have taken from the Boston Consulting Group analysis. As you can see, I'm not going to go into detail on this, but you can see what is the aviation flight plan to succeed in the new normal. What you see in the middle in green is the expected impact. Now let us just focus on the flight plan in the new normal, the extreme right light green slide, which will show you that the new normal now will be, the companies will start optimizing and restructuring the network and fleet. This is not new. This is already being done by them. It is an ongoing process. So I don't see much of a difference there in the way they're going to restructure the network and fleet, because that's part of their DNA. Follow with a whole airline transformation using a zero-based approach. For example, commercial, operation, and support function sizing. This again is already being done by them, and as far as the airline industry is concerned, since I have experience in them for the last 26 years, this is an ongoing story. So for them, there is nothing new in the entire process. Just that they don't have the cash flow and they need to get it back. That's it. M&A activity. M&A is mergers and acquisitions. Yes, definitely a lot of airlines are going to merge. There are a lot of are going to be acquisitions. We'll have to wait and see. But that means again there is employment opportunity, but in the long term. Financial restructuring. Thankfully, if the government is able to provide loans or give direct cash infusion, or even waive some of their tax policies on fuel, parking rights, etc., etc., it would definitely help. And I believe that the governments will have to do it for sure if they need the airline to survive. Industry-wide action, government lobbying and support, which I just covered. So I believe there is positivity here. The new leadership agenda and the new normal would definitely take over in the post-COVID area. Now, my slides soon after this, and then after the one that I'm going to show you is where you guys need to be a little more attentive on, because where I'm going to focus on what is it that you as individuals need to be aware of to enhance your skills in the new normal situation. It is not going to be the same, trust me. Now, the predicted recovery cycle. Now, if you look at this, has been done again by BCG. They have compiled the data, they have analyzed various scenarios, various likelihoods, and came to the conclusion that what you see that I've highlighted in the red is that the high predicted recovery cycle, where we see there is a high potential or a likelihood of achieving, is that things will get back to normal the next 12 to 18 months. Trust me, it's not going to happen before it. It will take 12 to 18 months. Now, having said that, I would conservatively put a figure at 16 months is where it is going to be for things to get the new normal. reason why you ask me is because hopefully they will find a vaccine for this virus by maybe in the next 1 or 1.5 years. So it should be okay by then. However, 12 to 18 months is the required time for things to get back to the new normal stage. Now, this again I'm talking about in the aviation segment. Logistics will maybe get better in the next 6 to 8 months time. Now, just briefly, we'll tell you what are the job opportunities. Job opportunities have not changed for both aviation as well as for logistic candidates. It is going to be the same. You have travel agencies, tour operators, travel consultants, hotels. Hotels, you get both from the aviation as well as from the logistics background, people are being absorbed. On cargo agencies, of course, you have various options. Corporates, you have travel desk, admin, and logistics. Institutions, you can work in as faculty, guest faculty. GDS, that is global distribution systems. You have job potentials. Airlines, of course, both in passenger as well as in cargo and logistics, you have opportunities. But biggest opportunity that I see that is going to come across is in the e-retailers forum. Let's say an Amazon or a Swiggy or a Zomato, name it. Whatever retailer it is, there is going to be a potential. Last week, I think Swiggy or Zomato has taken, or I think Amazon, I'm not sure, have taken about, I think Big Basket took around 10,000 to 15,000 people in their organization. This was last week. So you can imagine what the scenario is going to be once the situation gets back to normal. So again, like I said, I see a huge scope for hope in the logistics segment. Now, these are the skills that I believe are required in professional today. Now, from here onwards, I would like the students and the trainers to be a little more focused and make notes if possible. Because what I have seen from my experience is that in, the skills people believe that are required in professionals, they have broken out into three parts. One is the early career, what is required, mid career, what is required, and the late career, what is required. But in my view, there are in my experience, I believe these are the top 5 skills that you mandatorily need to have at an early career stage itself and not wait for the mid or late career, because this top 5 is what makes you different from the other candidates or different from the other. This puts you one notch up about the average candidate. So this makes you an above average candidate. So as you can see, the top 5 are self-awareness, the ability to learn and change, managing fear and failure, values, imbibing values, and situational leadership. Now this, I would like all of you to try and imbibe it maybe at the early stages in their career or even before they join any organization. As you can see, self-awareness I've marked in green because in the Maslow's human needs 2.0, which I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, self-actualization was one of the topmost need of in the human needs cycle, and self-awareness is actually self-actualization. So it is very, very important there. Now I've put in something quite to make it more interesting and more maybe relevant under the current scenario. To see what I want all of you to be aware of is that it's time for you to look at a fundamental change in your approach towards your organization, towards your institution, towards your training methodologies, and towards your way of learning for the students. I term it as a paradigm shift. So let us see what is it that what I think are the relevant changes that you need to look at, the fundamental changes that you need to bring in. One is you need to identify the core competence in you. You need to also try to obtain the right information to gain the knowledge and have the wisdom to use it effectively. Today, we are bombarded with a lot of data through various mediums. You should have the wisdom to take what is relevant and use it effectively. Using the knowledge effectively is important. So that is where, if you see the first slide which I had, if you recall the first slide which I showed you, where you are in the fear zone, learning zone, and the growth zone, you need to be in the learning zone today and use the knowledge and have the wisdom to move into the growth zone for your own professional enhancement. You need to visualize to see what is happening to the other industry and not just yours, because awareness is linked to success. I have a favorite dictum which says, sight is a faculty, seeing is an art. Everybody has the sight, but very few people see. So I want you to visualize what is happening, not just in the aviation and logistic industry, because just because we are doing this topic. You need to know what's happening in the automobile industry. You need to know what's happening in the pharmaceutical industry. You need to know what's happening in the textile industry. You need to have a 360 general knowledge about what is happening on the industries around you, because that is what is making you different, and that is what is going to enable you to enhance or upscale your skills accordingly to the uh, industry trends. Introspect to identify the weak links and initiate urgent action. Please do that. If it's an organization, if it's your institute, or if it is you as an individual, right? And identify what is the weakness in me? What is the weak link that is causing me not to move forward? What is the weak link in which my students are not able to understand what I'm trying to teach? You have to take those immediate urgent actions. Please use this time in the lockdown to introspect and identify those things. And the most important thing is, please check whether you have the values that today values is not spoken about in colleges, it's not spoken about in schools, it's not spoken about in institutes, it's not spoken about in organizations. Organizations have their values, and I believe there are certain values which you need to mandatorily possess to be different from the average candidate. These are graduate attributes, which I believe, I'm assuming that all of you are graduates or going to be graduates. What you need to have is academic excellence, professional excellence, personal excellence, leadership qualities, and communication skills. These are the 5 most important attributes that you need to have. Now, in the next slide, I want you all to pay close attention to this here. I'm going to explain to you each of these attributes. Now, academic excellence. You can see the academic is the first one, and the academic excellence here is what does academic excellence mean? It just means it's extensive knowledge, the chosen discipline with ability to apply it effectively. Now, under academic excellence, there are academic attributes which will help you gain academic excellence. Now, there are 4 which I believe are important. One is the domain expertise, problem solving skills, knowledge application, and self learning. If you look at the next column, which has got the indicator, under domain expertise, I have put in as an indicator what is it that you need to achieve, or you need to identify if that a weak link or a strong link in your domain current attribute currently. Now, this is the exercise of self-improvement plan, which I believe will help each one of you to introspect and find out and rate yourself in where you are placed in any of these particular domains. Now, for example, in the domain expertise, comprehensive, what you need to have to be to an expert to say that I am a domain expertise is that you need to have comprehensive specialist knowledge of the field of study and defined professional skills ensuring work readiness. Now, you need to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, and then identify what are the baby steps that you need to do for improvement. So similarly, and then you work towards those baby steps, on those baby steps to see, and then after about a month or so, do an evaluation to see, have I moved from the rating from 1 to 10? If I was currently 5, am I 6 tomorrow? Or have I gone down to 4? Or have I moved up to 8? So this is something that you need to do as individuals. So this is one of the fundamental changes of approach that you need to do. You need to do a lot of self-introspection, identify the weak links that you have or you possess, and then try to work on it and improve. So similarly, I have got the same exercise for professional excellence. I'm not going in detail because that would take quite a lot of time. Then you have personality attributes. Again, there are personal attribute indicators like self-awareness and self-esteem, which again is similar to what I have mentioned in the Maslow's basic human needs of self-actualization. And these are the qualities that you need to have to be successful. So please use this indicators and these attributes and rate yourself, and also do this homework of trying to have the baby steps for improvement and see where you are. So you are alone, close in a closed door in your room. Be honest yourself and please study this to identify which are the areas that I need to improve. Leadership quality is again one very important attribute here. Leadership is number 4 before communication. Now, in leadership, I've put it as a separate slide. The reason is, what is leadership? It's the ability to lead the action of a team or group of an organization towards achieving the goals with voluntary participation by all. Now, most of us think that leadership is not something that I need to learn or have now because I'm just a graduate or I'm just a new junior executive in an organization. I will eventually get it with my years of experience and I would become a leader. I think that is a misconception in my experience, because this is something that the institutes, the colleges, and the schools should also imbibe in the children as part of their curriculum, and try to bring out the leadership qualities in individuals. Because you have to, I'm telling you, out of 10 children that you may educate and give them some mentoring and guidance on what leadership qualities are, 4 of them will definitely make the difference to you when they join college or when they move uh, into a into an organization. That way, the employability skills also will be much more enhanced in these kind of individuals. So, my humble request is to all of you to ensure that leadership quality has to be imbibed in children or in your students at the earliest. Now, what are those attributes that you need? Um, I say these are the. I'm not going to go again in. If we have time later on, I will do it. But these are the leadership attributes. As again, you have to find out what the indicators are also mentioned. This is again my view, and you need to look at the rating, where you stand, and what the baby steps for improvement are. And you will be surprised, for leadership attributes, I had to go into 2 pages because I believe there was much more than what was uh, required. Of course, this is also in terms of communication. So it is important for you to uh, understand and comprehend these indicators and consider them as a mandatory aspect of your professional growth. Now, I'm going into one of my favorite topics, which is values. Values is something I asked recently. I conducted a session with an engineering college, with the faculty of engineering college, and I asked them what values are. Do you know values? And they gave me a lot of numerical values. I was not looking at that. Uh, People with values and ability are more important than people with ability. See, when you go in for an interview in an organization, the interviewer looks at what is the value that you can bring into an organization. What is the added value that you can bring into an organization? And I firmly believe that if you have these values, the inner drive, the rigor, the excellence, and the passion, you can be successful in any company, in any organization. Even the job may not be available today, that industry may not exist today, but it may be there tomorrow. But if you have these values, it does not matter which industry you are, what your educational qualifications are, you can definitely be successful as long as you have these canopy values. Now, I call these as canopy values because under these umbrella values, there are sub values as well, which I will take you through. What are living values? It's the inner drive. Let us go into inner drive. What is the definition? Definition of inner drive is to proactively take the initiative to meet the goals, taking personal responsibility for actions and being accountable for the outcomes. Basically, being accountable. How? Have complete clarity of your academic or professional goals and their relationship to the individual, organization, and proactively take the initiative to achieve them. What are the sub values of inner drive? Are proactive, being reactive, being responsible, and being accountable. So basically, you have the same indicator like the graduate indicators which I showed you. You can form that same table, Excel sheet, or the exercise that you want, and you can rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 whether do you have this inner drive in you, and what are the baby steps that you need to achieve this inner drive. Then the next one is rigor. What is rigor? Rigor means following the systems, processes, rules, and regulations with due diligence and using a professional approach. How? Ensuring that work is done as per processes so that they are not left to unprofessional methods such as being specific person dependent, done as favors, done outside the process, changed as and when one feels like, or subject to firefighting situations. So, and what are the sub values that you have in rigor is diligence and professionalism. Excellence. What is the definition? Doing the right thing and getting it right the first time with a sense of urgency and demand. How? Create the process that improves understanding and connects with students. and creates the connect with the students. Maximize productivity and teaching standards. Values, sense of urgency and more demanding. Passion, definition, displaying the creativity, enthusiasm and leadership normally associated with various passions of life work situations. How? Make work meaningful by linking it to a larger purpose and thereby unlocking the reservoir of passion, energy and creativity in work situations. Values, what are the sub values of passion? Is leading from the front, creativity and enthusiasm. Again, creativity and enthusiasm, why have I left it in green? Is because, again, the basic needs of Maslow's human needs shows in the topmost part of the pyramid, you need self-actualization, under which creativity, spontaneity, enthusiasm, authenticity is a mandatory requirement, which we do not have. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is the basic human needs is self-actualization and self-awareness. You need to have that in you first, and everything else will fall in place. Now, coming to the end of my presentation, I would like to show the slide, which is very familiar to, I'm sure, all the trainers and teachers, the Bloom's taxonomy. If you notice today, what is happening is that level 1, 2 and 3 is being applied with a lot of vigor and passion. The teachers are training to teach, are interested in teaching, and the students are interested in passing their examination. What is missing is the teachers are not educating and the students are not understanding. So this is where the biggest bane today is, or the problem area that I see today is. We need to definitely move into level 4 and 5, 4, 5 and 6. So my humble request to all of you is, please try and move into the 4, 5 and 6 levels in terms of your training. In terms of the students, my humble request is to please ask questions. Do not just sit in class for the sake of listening to somebody and saying, okay, this is what he said, I need to finish the class, go out and finish my exam, I need to pass. No, that is not what we are looking for. You need to look at, you need to analyze what is being taught, you need to evaluate what you need, and you need to try to do a project on what is being taught. You have to demand that from your teachers, and trust me, everything will work. Similarly, my request and humble request to the trainers is to ensure, especially for those who are doing their skill management and interested in skill development, please try to find ways of implementing 4, 5 and 6 in a more proactive and a practical manner, so that the students are also in a different mode rather than just applying, understanding and remembering. So again, my request is to move the paradigm shift. We have to do a fundamental change of our approach from remembering, understanding and applying to analyzing, evaluating and creating. Why I am also insisting on this is applying, understanding and remembering is what artificial intelligence can do today, because it is only about IQ. But if you analyze, evaluate and create, which only a human being can do, is something that requires emotional quotient as well as RQ, which is resilience quotient. This only human beings can do. So if tomorrow somebody complains to me that artificial intelligence is taking my job, I would disagree with them. I would say that is because you have not moved into the level 4 and 5 and 6 yet. If you have moved, or if you are not willing to move, artificial intelligence will take over your jobs. So with those few words, I would like to end on a positive note to tell you guys that do not lose heart, be happy, be positive. I have faced defeat many times, but I have never been defeated. This has been my story, and hence I've been able to relate to what is written here very effectively. I mean, I can see what, when I say this, I believe there's a lot of truth in it. So thank you so much for your attention and participation. I'm sorry that I could not, since I was not looking at your questions in the chat box, I was not able to see if there were any complaints that came in between. But now I am free. You have 20 minutes where I will try my best to answer the questions to the best of my knowledge. For those which I am not able to answer, I will definitely get back to you as soon as possible, as long as you leave your data with me and information with me. Thank you so much. Now we will move into the question and answer session.
Thank you, sir, for a very informative presentation. And we have a question from Nandini. It is basically how engineering graduates can enter into aviation and the logistics sector. What are the courses that are recommended for them?
Okay. Nandini, hello, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Stay safe and stay home. Um it's a question that I think a lot of people would have in mind. Let me give you a small example of my story. I am a postgraduate in English literature from CMS College, Kottayam, and then I moved on to become the general manager of international airline, handling India for sales, marketing, and operations based out of Delhi. What did I do differently? I'm just a graduate, and that too in arts. All I did was join a relevant course. First, understood where my passion was. What is it that I wanted to do? I was able to identify what my strengths were and what my weaknesses were, and then realized that, well, this is what I want to do in life. And then I took and I pursued that goal towards the end. So I joined an institute which took me to travel and tourism, and I realized that and logistics. I realized that I have a flair for travel and tourism and not for logistics. So I focused on taking travel and tourism. Then I joined an airline general sales agency, and then moved up the ladder in various airlines, 3 or 6 airlines that I have joined in my career so far. So your qualification, academic qualification, is not what is important. What is important is your attitude towards what you want to be. That is the most important thing. So it doesn't matter if you are a BTech, it doesn't matter if you are a BA, it doesn't matter if you are a BCom or a BSc, it doesn't matter. All that matters, like I said, when you go for an interview, uh, is that the organization will look at what value you can add to that organization. As long as you follow these canopy rules and indicators that I have mentioned, you will get what you want. I hope I have answered your question. If not, I can come back to you later.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from Gopi Vijayan. Uh, how the aviation industry of India will be affected by the disinvestment of Air India and the post-COVID-19 market in terms of opportunity and remuneration?
Uh, the disinvestment of Air India, I think, would be put on hold for some time because of COVID. So I don't think the government would take any drastic steps in expediting the disinvestment at this point in time. What they would be looking at was the government will definitely be funding Air India to ensure that they survive this crisis, which is required. Um, the other question was on the post-COVID. I have already mentioned that I see 12 to 18 months for the recovery period. So you have to be patient. If you are only a graduate now, you have enough time to pursue the courses of your choice. And by the time you finish your graduation, or by the time you finish your technical course, let us say in the travel and tourism or logistics industry, you will be just right for the new job offers that will be there in plenty. If you follow those values, and if you make an effort to improve your skills and knowledge, definitely you will get there. In terms of salary, I think that was the third part of your question. I think you will not have to worry about the salary part, because that is not going to change. Um, what would happen is that, or what is currently happening and that will continue to happen, is most of the airlines do not go in for direct recruitment at this point in time. They are already downsizing, uh, and I'm a victim of that. So already what they are outsourcing is they are giving their services to third party companies. Like I mentioned, for logistics, they will be giving it to third party logistics. They are also handing it over to general sales agencies. So there is a lot of jobs. There will be plenty of jobs available, especially in the airport um, area for the airline business. So salary will definitely not be an issue. It will not reduce. It will be the same as what it is today. This is my gut feeling.
We have one of the queries from a student who wants to know more about zero-based approach.
I can. It's a little bit of a complicated topic. So can you get me the details? I can come back to him on the data with the data.
Sure, sure. So we have another question that is regarding the internship opportunities in the airline industry. The students feel that it is much restricted, so they would like to know how they can explore it. Internship opportunities in the airline industry.
there is zero or nil internship opportunities in the airline industry, because the airline industry by itself is going through a process of downsizing before the COVID hit us. So you can imagine post-COVID it's still going to not happen. So I would say do not even look at an option of having an internship with an airline directly. Because even if they give you an internship, what they do is they give it to you for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks maximum. Trust me, it's of no use. It's really of no use because you don't learn anything, because there's no practical involvement. You are considered as a hindrance to their work, etc., etc. So, in my personal view, and a professional view, I would say internship is a waste of time unless you get it for 6 months. So, airlines will not take it. So, what you need to do is you have to do a self-study. You need to do what I told you. Ensure that you do the self-improvement steps to learn and get into a job as quickly as possible. So that is what is going to be.
Thank you, sir. So there is a question from Advait. What is the difference between value-adding logistics and normal man? Where does the value addition happen?
See, the value-added logistics will happen in. See, what happens is today many companies are unable to provide services beyond conventional contracts and are not able to respond to value-added services like customs clearance, cross-docking, reverse logistics, labeling, and tracking. So this is what I'm referring to as value-added services. So most of the many companies today are not able to offer this. So those companies which are not able to offer this, in my view, will be closed. The ones that are being able to offer it will survive, and those who are not operating it or offering this value-added services today, we have to ensure that they offer it tomorrow. Tomorrow, when I mean post-COVID scenario, for them to be survive.
Sir, there is a question. One of the SAP program managers, I want to know more about entrepreneurship opportunities in the sector.
Entrepreneurship opportunities is basically you have to set up your own travel agency or set up your own supply chain management company. There is plenty of opportunity, but for the moment, under the situation, I would ask you to refrain from doing any of those entrepreneurial things in this particular segment. Logistics, I would still encourage you, but not in the travel agency or in the aviation sector, not advisable at all. But in the logistics sector, I see, and supply chain management, I see a huge scope. In fact, as we speak, there are a lot of startups that have, in the last 10 days, started in Bangalore in particular on logistics. We have apparently got some very good top management from and have placed top management from reputed business schools because they believe that there is a big future for them on a post-COVID scenario.
There's a question regarding self-actualization. A student wants to know on what tips that you could give him so that he can achieve the ladder.
You can I go back to the slide if you don't mind?
Sure, sir. That would be very helpful.
So I go to Bloom's taxonomy. It's 3 parts: level 4, 5, and 6. Creating, evaluating, and analyzing is what you need to imbibe if you have to get into the self-actualization. Basically, what you're talking about is self-awareness.
So can you just preview it?
Oh, sorry. Self-actualization is nothing but creativity, problem solving, spontaneity, and authenticity. You need to ensure that you are basically what you need to be self-aware of what you are, what your weak links are, and what your strengths are. And you need to ensure that you get into the creative problem solving mode, like I've mentioned in the last slide of the Bloom's taxonomy. That is steps number 4, 5, and 6. You need to get into that particular mode. I'll come back. creating, evaluating, and analyze. So whatever information that you have or whatever you're doing, ensure that you take apart that information and show relationship, causes, and connection. You don't have the answer, seek the answers. Justify a stand of position. You have to stand and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. Why am I doing it? Because these are the facts and these are the logical reasonings that I have behind my stand. And I am producing something. This is what I'm doing. This is my theory. This is my analysis. This is my project. This is my invention. This is what you need to really look at getting into. This is the new fundamental change of approach that I was referring to. So you have to get into this mode of creating, evaluating, and analyzing. And that can only come over a period of time if you follow those indicators. You have to identify your weak links, try to take baby steps and say, okay, which are the attributes that I don't have and need to improve on, and then get it. I'm telling you, it's available. You will get it in Google. You will get the answers from your teachers. You will get it from your mentors. I also have a request for those teachers who are in this session to move from teaching to mentoring, because I think this is what today the children need. They need mentoring more than teaching. Hope I have answered.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot for information. Sir, we have a query from one of the trainers regarding the possibilities on how they can imbibe leadership qualities in students. So if you could throw a light on that particular area, it would be very helpful for the trainers.
I'm coming back to the slide. Fortunately, I have it here. Yeah. Can everybody see the slide? So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Now, here, basically, what does leadership imply? Leadership implies effective communication, using your power responsibly, and assigning responsibility, having the sufficient skills, people management, team management, whatever, and manage people management in particular, having the relevant competency in the area of work, having relevant motivation to motivate others, is a team player and is able to support the staff as and when required, or the management as and required. Now, if you look at it, leadership is nothing but the ability of or action of a team or a group or an organization to achieve goals, the voluntary participation by all. So what they need to understand is they need to have these particular attributes. Just focus on these attributes that I've mentioned here. That is logical resolution of results. So what maybe the trainer could do is he could copy this leadership attributes and write down the indicator and give it as an exercise to the student to rate themselves from 1 to 10 and also identify baby steps for improvement. This is not going to happen overnight. You need to spend a lot of time and help would be required. So you need to phase it out maybe over a period of 3 months or 4 months. See how can I improve this? How can I increase the rating of the students' rating in the leadership attitude? Self-confidence, feeling and belief in one's own capability. I would like to point out that most of the people that I have interviewed over the last 26 years, a lot of students from Kerala did come for interview. They had the qualification, but it was knowledge, but they did not have the required self-confidence. And the self-confidence was the reason why they did not perform in this. They were not able to convince me as to why, what value they would bring to the organization. And what I realized was self-confidence was because of lack of esteem, lack of self-esteem. And this was particular in the candidates who came from Kerala when I was in Delhi. So unfortunately, they were qualified in terms of graduation and all the skills, but in terms of an appearance in interview, preparation for an interview, they were not able to perform. So, which I'm sure as a trainer we will be able to relate to as well. So what I would humbly request is that if you could take these leadership attributes that are mentioned and have these indicators in. If you believe there are other indicators, please feel free to add them which are required for. I have just put in what I think is the most relevant from my experience and rate them and provide them as this exercise, and this will help. Hope I have answered this question.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Anaga. He said learning by doing is a best method, and could you just suggest areas in logistics and airlines wherein this could be incorporated in trainings?
Sorry, I didn't get you. You repeat.
We have a query from Anaka. She feels learning by doing is the best method to teach everyone.
Okay.
So how can these be incorporated in logistics sector?
See, learning by doing, you can only do once you get the job. The most important thing. So I'm not a fan of internships. Trust me. Uh, so the best way is to make yourself employable. Ensure that you have the skills that will make you employable. Ensure that you have the skills that reduces the gap between actual employability requirement with what you have learned theoretically. So the best way is to start at the beginning of whatever job that you are taking. Get a job as quickly as possible. That is the best learning.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have another question from a student who would like on how we could be able to perform much better in the early and the mid senior level positions and how the value addition can happen during those times. We would like to
Sorry,
know some tips
you're
from you.
breaking off, Ruby. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. So we have a query from a student regarding the early career, mid-career, and senior positions, wherein the student has to imbibe certain qualities in him. So he would like to know certain tips on how that can be attained.
This is mentioned in my slide. I will take you to the slide again. Just give me a minute. Here. Who asked this question? It's a very relevant question. Thank you so much for asking it, because these values that I have mentioned, trust me, may I have the participant's name, please?
So it's Vineet.
Vineet. Okay, Vineet, thank you for this question. If you need to definitely grow up in your professional career, ensure that you follow these values. You have these values in you. If you do not have it, uh, do the exercise which I have given for that Excel exercise of rating yourself with an indicator. I have these indicators as well for this, which are removed for this presentation. I can send it to you. Make a note. Please ask ASAP to send to remind me to send you that. I can send you those. So I have indicators for inner drive, rigor, excellence, and passion. So you follow those baby steps for improvement and try to inculcate these values in your day-to-day work, and you will definitely grow up the ladder. There's no questions about it.
Thank you, sir. As we have almost answered all questions, I'd like to thank you for the important information that you have shared with us, starting from the self-actualization to the light that you've thrown towards trainers regarding how they should analyze, evaluate, and invent and reinvent themselves. And all these points, which uh, also adds value to their life and helps them to evolve into a beautiful person. Amidst this COVID scenario, you have spent at least more than 1 hour with us. Really thankful to you, sir, and also thankful to all the participants who have taken the effort for coming and joining into this webinar series and to have a very good learning experience to improve their own life. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and all the best, the participants. Stay home, stay safe, have a good time with your family. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you, sir.